What's up everyone, it's Kelly. Welcome back to the vlog channel. I know it's been a really long time since I vlogged, but I figured it was finally time to give you my post-surgery update. I've been meaning to film this for a really long time, but I wanted to do my follow-up with my doctor first just to make sure that everything was going smoothly, and now I'm finally ready to film this. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I had a pretty big surgery. This was back in December. It is currently September, so it's actually been, I meant to do this as a 6-month update, but I think we're at a 9-month update right now. So yes, back in December, I had to get a pretty major reconstructive surgery on my face. I do have a video on my channel of me talking about it before the surgery and kind of explaining what it was going to be. It ended up being a little bit more serious than that. And then I also had in that same video a little update of a month later. I actually just watched that video to remind myself what I talked about in that video. And it's crazy to see how different my face and nose looked back then. But anyway, yeah, if you don't feel like watching that, the gist of it is I had to get nose surgery. So my septum was very badly deviated. One of my nostrils actually was collapsed. And I also had cysts in my sinuses, which were causing a lot of pressure and pain. And then I also had just some other stuff going on in there. It was a 4-hour surgery. They had to take out a chunk of this ear and put it in my nose to reconstruct it. So it was a whole situation. And I have to say, it's actually been a pretty life-changing surgery. And I wanted to talk to you guys about it. I wanted to talk to you about how it's been since then, how my recovery has been, and if there have been any changes since month 1. I also asked you guys on Instagram if you had any questions for me, so we can go over those as well. But yeah, let's just get into it. So let me start off by saying that I am 100% so glad that I had this surgery. I have zero regrets about it. I think that this has totally changed my life. There were a lot of things that when I was going through them, it was difficult or uncomfortable, but now having been a little bit more removed from that, I don't even think about it. Like one of the things, and I got asked a lot about this when I first posted my surgery on my update, a lot of people were nervous about it, nervous about the pain, nervous about the healing experience. And honestly, after the first few weeks, it felt a lot better and I didn't really remember the pain. Like looking back at that video, I mentioned that the pain post-surgery without medication was like a 9. And then with medication, I think I said it was a 7. I don't even remember how it felt, honestly. It feels like it was so long ago and so much of my life has improved since then that I don't even think about it. Like I would 100% do it again. I mean, I remember crying a lot about it and being like, I'm never having surgery again. I don't care what it is. Like I can never do this again. But now that it's over, I'm like, it's fine. So yeah, I fully 100% am happy I did it. If you're watching this and you're maybe nervous about getting surgery or you're thinking that you might need it and you're scared, I fully recommend it. I will never recommend anything more than this. This has totally changed everything in my life for the better. And even though there was pain for a couple of weeks, it was fully worth it. I did mention also in that video that my nose was still numb after a month. It's no longer numb. I am still very careful with it, especially with makeup application. I try to be like very gentle with it when I'm putting on anything or removing anything. You know, I'm not like slamming into my nose or anything like that, but it definitely feels a lot closer to normal now. Maybe the tip feels like a little bit more numb, but for the most part, it feels like it's my nose again. I will say there are certain times that I wake up and I have this like sort of weird alien sensation about it. Like it feels like, I don't know how to even explain it. It kind of feels like my nose, like someone's pressing down on my nose, but that goes away pretty quickly and I don't think anything of it, honestly. But yeah, so I wanted to talk in this video, one, about the process of how it's been since that first month, but I also wanted to really quickly go over, I had a list in my original video where I talked about things that weren't normal that I was hoping would get fixed by surgery. So I thought it would be fun if we could go over those because when I did my 1-month update, I hadn't really experienced a lot of them yet. So first things first, I was told right in the beginning that the recovery for the surgery was going to be very long. They actually told me that it was going to be already a full year of recovery before everything was totally set and done being swollen and everything. So if you watch that video and then this video, you can see the swelling has gone down significantly. It's interesting to see on my main channel how my nose has kind of changed over the last several months, just like getting smaller and less swollen from the surgery. But I will say it's actually still very swollen on the inside. I have noticed that kind of fluctuates a little bit more, but I still don't have full functionality of my nose right now, just because especially this side is very swollen, so I can't fully breathe out of this side. But that being said, it has still been very life-changing and my sense of smell has changed completely. So things that I thought were normal that were not normal. Number one, not being able to blow my nose. So in my update, I had said I actually still hadn't blown my nose, and I'm not gonna lie, that actually was something that took me several months to try. I think it was actually 2 weeks ago was the first time I actually truly attempted to blow my nose, and I think it went well. I had never blown my nose before. Actually, my friend Alex was like coaching me through it and laughing at me, and I was just like, I don't know, like, do I just breathe out? I don't understand. So it was like a whole thing. I think I did all right. She said I didn't do a great job, which is fair, but yeah, I did finally try blowing my nose. It's just I've gone 32 plus years without ever having to blow my nose. Like I'm always just used to just wiping my nose. It's never been something that I did, so it's not a sensation that I'm used to, and I don't know, I guess, when you're supposed to blow your nose versus like other things. I don't know. So it's unusual. It's definitely not something that I will probably incorporate regularly into my life, because I'm not sure how often people do it. But yeah, I did try it. It did work, I think. So I don't know. Maybe it takes practice. Okay, number two, not being able to gargle mouthwash. This was something I talked about before my surgery, where I have never been able to breathe out of my nose. So when I use mouthwash or anything that requires me to keep my mouth closed for a prolonged period of time, I just haven't been able to do that for very long because I am holding my breath and I get a little lightheaded. Since then, I absolutely am able to gargle mouthwash. I'm able to keep my mouth closed indefinitely. I actually have been to the dentist since then, and funny enough, my gum health is actually significantly better. I might have mentioned this in the vlog, but yes, my gum health has significantly improved, and my dentist said that it was probably because I keep my mouth closed while I sleep now, so my gums aren't sensitive anymore, and I'm able to use mouthwash if necessary. So that has been a very unexpected side effect of having this surgery, that my mouth health is better now, which I think is pretty cool. So yes, I am able to keep my mouth closed while I'm using mouthwash, while I'm sleeping, anything, and it's actually really improved the health of my mouth, which is very nice. I have not experienced sensitive gums since the surgery, so that's pretty amazing. Okay, next up we have sniffling after every sentence, something that I used to do pre-surgery, and I am happy to report that I am no longer sniffling after every sentence. However, I still sniffle infrequently, just because I think it's been something subconscious that I've done for my entire life, that I still sometimes just do it. So that's just like a habit now that I need to learn how to break, but it has been a lot better. So I think that's pretty cool. The next one was not being able to smell things. This to me has been the most life-changing part, and 100% of the reason why I am so grateful to have had this surgery. I think having a sense of smell has absolutely, changed my life. I already said that, but it has fully changed my life, because I feel like I'm experiencing so many things now in such a different way. So let me get into it. I know I talked about it in my last video, but food tastes different when you have a sense of smell. I have always been a self-proclaimed foodie. I have always loved food. I've always enjoyed cooking and everything. Food tastes so significantly stronger now. It's not necessarily that it tastes different. I know a lot of people have asked me, like, are there foods that you used to like that you don't like anymore? Are there foods that you didn't like that you do like now? It's not necessarily that my tastes have changed. It's just like everything that I thought was pretty good is now 20 times stronger. So everything, I feel like it's so dangerous because I want to eat all the time now. Everything tastes so strong. Every food that I enjoyed before, I now love and crave so much. So that's been wild. In terms of actually smelling things, that has also been a very different experience. I am smelling things that I never smelled before in my life. I am experiencing experiencing things in a whole different way. I don't know if I talked about this in a vlog, but I had an experience for several months after my surgery. I had a situation that I didn't connect in my brain for some reason, but for months, I always joked that I was cursed. Whenever I used a public bathroom, I was like, I am cursed in that every time I use a public bathroom, I go into the stall right after someone has pooped. And I was fully convinced that this was just a thing, that I was like, every time I go into a bathroom, someone's just pooped in there. And at one point, I think it was like a month or two ago, I went into a fully empty bathroom that had not been used in a while and it still smelled. And I was like, oh my gosh, do bathrooms just smell? And I know that's such a silly thing, but it just never occurred to me that like certain things just have smells. So yeah, bathrooms smell a lot stronger, public bathrooms I mean, than I thought that they did. I recently went to a concert and I had no idea that concerts smell bad. I don't know if that's like all concerts, but I've been to many concerts in my day. I never smelled a thing, but the combination of body odor plus spilled beer plus smoke is not great. That was a crazy experience. I feel like in general, just like being out and about, I can smell people so much more. Like I can smell like when, I'm sorry if this is like TMI, but like I smell farts, I smell people's body odor. I'm smelling so much. Honestly, it sounds like it's a downside, but I'm pretty grateful because it's just so interesting to experience this like world of smells that I never smelled before. Obviously, I have smelled bad scents before, but it's just like now so much stronger and so much more prevalent in my life that I'm always experiencing a scent of some sort. So I think that's actually honestly really fun. And then that also goes for good smells as well. Whenever I smell something good, it just smells so much better. So I think that's really fun. Like perfumes, candles, anything like that. Like it's just so much stronger and better to me. So I really enjoy it. Next up, we have not being able to sleep on my side. I know when I did my update on this one, I had said I still hadn't gotten the chance to sleep on my side. So basically pre-surgery, I had a lot of sinus issues, and your sinuses are connected to your ears. I don't know like the technical term for it, but when I slept on my side, I would wake up in a lot of pain. It always felt like I had an ear infection if I slept on my side. Now I am able to sleep on my side and it's totally fine. I will say one unintended consequence of this surgery has been this ear. Like I said, they did cut out the back of this ear and put it in my nose, and I don't find it comfortable to lay on this ear anymore. The way that it's cut out is it's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of pointy in the back now instead of having like the cartilage back there. So it kind of presses into my head in a weird way. And I am just not comfortable sleeping on this ear or like laying on this ear or anything. So that's something that I don't love. But that being said, I never really liked sleeping on this side. I've always been this side sleeper. So that is totally fine with me. But yeah, this side is weird. Whenever this ear is kind of pressed back, it does feel a little bit uncomfortable, but maybe over time I'll just get more used to that because I think it's just like slightly pointy. I don't know how to explain it. But yes, no pain sleeping on my side now. It's been totally different. And then the last one that I have is having a nasally voice. And I think in general, my voice is still pretty nasally. I will say the inside of my nose is still pretty swollen. So there's a chance that over time it might gradually get less nasally. But I do notice a difference between how I sound now versus how I sounded pre-surgery. I think before the surgery, I kind of sounded like, not necessarily like I had a cold, but like I had some blockage in my nose. And now I think my voice sounds a little bit clearer. But other than that, I don't think it's too different. I think there is the sound of a Jersey accent having a little bit of like a nasaliness to it. So I think that's just me. But yeah, I think it might change slowly over time, but I'm finding it easier now to talk less through my nose. So I feel like there are certain letters, like N is just like a little bit easier for me to say without it feeling like it's pushing down on my nose. So yeah, that is the list. But in terms of other updates, interestingly, I actually didn't get sick for a really long time, but I did get sick for the first time since my surgery a few weeks ago, and that was a very different experience than I expected. I know YouTube is kind of weird about the sickness that I'm talking about. So I'm not going to say what it is, but it's the big one, the 2020 one, the vid, as I've been calling it. So I did catch that, and that was my first experience being sick and having nasal blockage since the surgery. And wow, that was a very different experience than it had been in the past. And I have a feeling it'll just be the same with a cold, because I never had too much of a struggle when it came to catching a cold or being sick, because it didn't feel significantly different, especially in my sinuses, when I was actively sick. But now that I have experienced what it's like to have clear sinuses and be able to breathe out of my nose, being sick was a huge inconvenience. I felt like all of a sudden my voice went back to being super nasally because my nose was stuffed. I was so self-conscious because I did record a couple of shorts while I was sick, and I felt like I sounded like how I sounded before my surgery, so I thought that was kind of funny. And honestly, it's been a few weeks, but I feel like I still am a little bit more nasally than I usually am. And like I said, I have since attempted to blow my nose, but I think that having that sickness caused some of the swelling in my nose to either swell up a little bit more or stick around a little bit longer, because I feel like I'm not 100% back to how I was before I got sick, but I still feel significantly better, and I'm testing negative. So I've been testing negative for like 2.5 weeks now. But yeah, I think that was really interesting, because people have always talked about how like the sinuses are the worst part of like catching a cold or something like that. And I was always like, I don't think so. I think it's just been the headaches. But no, the sinuses are the worst part, because I did also have to sleep with my mouth open during that, and it was just a lot less comfortable than it had been in the past. So now that I know what it feels like to have my nose working, it's really annoying when it doesn't work. So that's been really interesting. So let me go to Instagram and see if I can answer some of the questions that you guys have about it. A lot of people have asked me if I have blown my nose. I already talked about that. This is an interesting one. The question is there a smell that you hate now post-surgery? So this is another thing that I just didn't realize had a smell, and it's really grosses me out. This is a slight TMI thing, but I did not know that boogers had a smell. Boogers smell gross. Nobody ever talks about that. Nobody's ever told me that. And whenever I have a booger, I can smell it, and it's really uncomfortable. That's like a really weird thing. That's just a disgusting smell to me now. But in general, I think I know what things smell. Like I know that farts smell and all that. It just smells stronger now. So that's the one thing that I'm like, that's so bizarre. And I feel like I can smell my own breath, which I never have smelled before. And that makes me very self-conscious, because I'm like, does breath always smell? Or is it just my breath? And it makes me want to chew gum more often. So I don't know, just like my own bodily functions, I guess, are smellier than I thought. I have a minor surgery coming up, but it's my first one in over 10 years. Any tips on pre-operation anxiety? Honestly, this is a tough one, because I do think that it's hard to figure out a way to comfort yourself with the anxiety of surgery, because I think the fear is of the unknown. But the thing that comforted me, it might not comfort you, but the thing that's been the most comforting to me in the past is knowing that the people who are working on my surgery have done this so many times. They fully know what they're doing. When you're getting surgery, you are in an environment where if anything possibly goes wrong, they can fix it. That is very comforting, knowing that like even if there are any unknowns, they can be addressed and taken care of. So like for example, my surgery, I wasn't aware at how intensive and how long it was going to end up being. I did not expect to wake up and have cartilage removed from my ear. They did warn me that it was a possibility, so it's not like I went in totally blind, but that was something that I didn't expect. But knowing that the doctor knew enough about the situation to be able, while in surgery, to say, okay, she needs this extra cartilage in there, so let's take care of the ear situation. I just find that to be very comforting. I see that the sun is beaming down on me, so let me lower this curtain really quick. Is that too dark now? No, I think we're fine. Okay, this is an interesting one. Does food still taste amazing or has it gone back to normal? This is actually something that I was curious about as well, but as of right now, my sense of taste is still very strong. I don't think it's ever going to go away. I think I'm just going to eventually get used to it. But as of right now, I still 100% love eating food all the time now. Food always tastes so amazing to me now that I am convinced that I will never get used to it, but I'm sure I will over time. But yeah, I love it. I love eating now. My goodness, I can't stop. And I loved eating before, but now it's crazy. How has breathing been now that some more healing has occurred? Again, I think it's just a little bit easier every day. It's such a slow process for the swelling to go down that I don't necessarily notice it day to day, but the way that I looked and felt during my 1 month update versus now is totally different. So I feel like it feels more normal to me. I think for a little while I was still having to kind of train myself to keep my mouth closed, and now it feels closer to second nature for me. But again, as the swelling goes down more, I think it's gonna get easier and easier. Oh my goodness, a lot of people think that I'm getting surgery and don't realize that I already had it, so I will post a little update on that. Somebody wants to know, have your food and scent preferences changed much? I think for the most part they're still the same, it's just everything's a little bit stronger, but there are some foods that are a little bit too strong for me now. I think my tolerance for spice has changed a little bit. It's hard to explain because I notice that I can enjoy things that are spicier than I used to be able to eat, but there are things that are lower on the spice level that are too spicy for me now. Like certain sauces and spice rubs and stuff are like a little bit too spicy, but then some of them now I can handle a little bit more spice. So I don't know if it's just other ingredients that are in those foods, but I still very much enjoy like cayenne based spice things. That's probably my favorite level of spice. So I really like buffalo sauce. I really like putting cayenne pepper and stuff, and I think it tastes way more amazing now than it used to. But as far as things that I don't necessarily like anymore, green onions taste a lot stronger than I thought they were. So I used to put green onions on and in everything, and now I really don't use them that much. So like an example is I used to put it on my avocado toast, and I eat avocado toast with like a little egg fairly often, and now I'm like, oh, the green onion kind of overpowers everything. So I don't do that anymore. I just eat the avocado toast without any green onion, but I'll still use green onion for things, but I kind of need to cook it first because otherwise it's a little too sharp for me. I did have a little phase. I'm not a huge fan of celery. In fact, I specifically dislike celery, and I had a phase where I was like, actually celery tastes kind of good, but now I'm back to being like, actually it really doesn't taste that good. I have noticed that dry spices, like if I go to like for example a wing place where the spiciness of their wings are dry spice rubs, I feel like that tastes very different to me now, and I'm not a huge fan of it. I like sauce based spices. I don't know, I feel like I can taste like the spices more now individually, and I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm not explaining myself well. I don't know how to explain that one. And then scent preferences, I think I still enjoy all of the same scents. It's just everything's a little bit stronger now, which I enjoy, honestly. I think everything smells good. Biggest difference you noticed right after surgery versus months later? I think this is the visual of my nose. I know when I first got the cast off of my nose, I was honestly like a little bit horrified because it looked so much bigger than it looked before. And then the swelling did go down significantly in the first month, but the video that I did the month after my surgery, I feel like my nose still looks so swollen. And again, it's like a day to day I did not notice, but now looking at how I look now versus how I looked then, it feels like such a huge difference to me. So like back then I was like, I don't think my nose looks that different, but now I'm like, it looks very different. Now I don't think it looks that different, but in a year, am I going to be saying the same thing? Like, wow, it looks really swollen here, but now it looks normal. I don't know. So I think that's been a huge difference. Somebody wants to know if my ENT suggested using a neti pot. He did not. I've been using just a regular sinus rinse, which I did very frequently when I first got the surgery, but now I don't really do it too often. Every once in a while, if I'm feeling like a little bit of discomfort, there's still still actually like some scabs and surgery debris, they called it, in there. So every once in a while, if that gets like knocked loose or if I feel any discomfort in my nose, I'll do a rinse, and that kind of helps flush out the system. But I know that a lot of people swear by the neti pot for their sinuses, and apparently that is a good non-surgical option that can help you with your sinuses. But my situation was very severe, and like I said, I had cysts in my nose, or in my sinuses, so those needed to be removed in order for my sinuses to work. This is an interesting one. Did the surgery cause you to change your perspective on anything, simple or deep? Honestly, yes. I feel like this year has been very different for me from any other year of my life, which is, I feel like that's a big statement to make, but I don't know. I feel like I experienced a lot of, weirdness post-surgery. I feel like I have a lot of ups and downs about it. I get very excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, food's so amazing. And then I've also experienced a lot of feeling very down about myself. It's been a lot of things. Like, one, it's been being self-conscious about looking different. There are some days, and even now, when I don't think I look that different anymore, but there are still some days that I wake up and I look in the mirror and I'm like, who is that? Because I feel like I still, you get so used to looking a certain way. Like, I looked a certain way for 32 years, and then now I look slightly different. So it's like almost this weird, uncanny reflection of myself sometimes, and I get this weirded out sense, and sometimes that puts me in a funk because I'm like, I do look different. I look a little different. But other days I wake up and I'm like, I look the same. Or I'll see an old picture of myself and I'll be like, oh my gosh, how did I not notice that my nostril was fully collapsed? So I felt a little down about that at times, and there are still times that I feel it where I'll look at myself in the mirror and I'll be like, that does not look like me. And then there were also a lot of times where I was feeling really frustrated with the healing process. And I know that it's a very slow process and I still have more healing to do, but it's been easy to get very frustrated at my body for not performing optimally. And sometimes I have gotten really frustrated at myself for that. Like, if I couldn't breathe properly out of my nose, or especially when I was sick, I was getting so frustrated with myself. I feel like there are definitely some ups and downs that I didn't anticipate experiencing, and that's been something that I've had to, deal with and come to terms with. So yeah, and I do think in general, my perspective on the surgery has overall been very positive, but my perspective on myself post-surgery, I think, has actually been a little bit negative, and it's not because of the surgery. I think it just caused a lot of very strong emotions that kind of put me in a difficult headspace. And I think I was feeling that pre-surgery as well. Like, I was feeling a lot of anxiety about it. It was a whole long process of like years to figure out that I even needed this surgery, and then scheduling it and waiting for it, and the anxiety about it and stuff. So I was feeling it a lot pre-surgery, but now post-surgery, I feel a little bit more self-conscious. I'm a little bit more, emotional in general. I've mentioned this in another vlog, but I am in therapy now, which has definitely been helping. But for a while, it was kind of a little roller coaster of emotions. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like things do feel different, but overall, I do feel very positively. And like I said, I fully recommend the surgery. I think that it was the best thing I've ever done for myself, literally. And I've had to do other procedures before for my own health, and this was by far the best one. So yeah, it's overall been very positive, but I do think that my mindset has kind of changed a little bit in general, and I'm trying to get back to it. This is a good one. I kind of already answered this, but somebody asked, how is life with more smells? It's definitely more interesting. And I know I've mentioned this before, but nail polish smells so much stronger than I ever anticipated. And I think it's so funny. I don't think I'll ever get used to it, but I love that. Like, every time I open a bottle of nail polish, I'm like, ooh, it smells good. Not that you should be smelling your nail polish, but especially gel polish, I haven't been able to use it as much because honestly, it smells very strong, and like I can't use it for too long or else I'll be like, oof, it's a little too strong for me. But it has been funny going through and seeing my scented polishes that I have definitely have a scent, and in previous review videos and stuff, I'm always like, oh, this one doesn't have a scent to me, but they definitely do have a scent. So everything is a lot more interesting now. And not just with work, but like I said, in general, I feel like I'm just smelling so much when I walk around. I walk down the street, I can smell flowers, I can smell the air, I can smell people, which is not always good. So I was out to eat very recently and somebody walked by wearing a terrible cologne, and then they also, I'm pretty sure, farted. And like the amount of smells that I got in that one like 5-second experience was so overwhelming. But it's just funny to me. I don't know. I kind of enjoy it. Not smelling farts, but just like being able to smell so much. I don't know. It's kind of fun. So yeah, it's been a journey. I think the journey will continue. I think it's only honestly up from here because every month it gradually gets a little bit better. And even though a part of me is like eager to kind of skip ahead and be at the point where I'm fully healed and no longer swollen on the inside or anything like that, I'm really enjoying the process. So yeah, I can't say this enough, but I'm so glad that I did this surgery. It has truly changed my life, if only for the way that food tastes now. I'm thinking specifically of poke bowls because that is my favorite food and they just taste so much better now. It's crazy. But just in general, like every food, oh my gosh, every sweet thing. And I feel like I'm still in a place where I'm still trying foods for the first time since the surgery because there's so many different types of cuisines to eat, you know? So it's just really fun. Like every once in a while, I'll be like, wait a second, we haven't eaten at XYZ place since my surgery. We got to try it because I'm so curious what it tastes like now. And it always just tastes so good. I don't know. I'm an even bigger foodie now. And maybe I should get more into cooking because I love going out to eat, which is obviously a little pricey, but maybe I should do more cooking experiments and try more different foods because that's just my favorite part of all of this. But anyway, I've been rambling for a really long time, so I will stop the vlog here. But if you have been joining me on this journey, I am so grateful for you. Thank you so much. Everybody has been so incredibly supportive about it. And every once in a while, I get a comment from people who, you know, can just tell that I'm feeling a lot better or that, you know, my voice sounds better or that my nose looks better or anything like that. And it always just makes me feel so great. So I definitely appreciate that. The support from the community has been incredible. And yeah, I know I always say this in every single vlog, but I do want to vlog more. I feel like the reason that I haven't been vlogging as much is, well, I explained it in the last vlog, but I also feel like I am a little bit more self-conscious now of how I've been looking because like I said, some days I wake up and I'm just like, that doesn't look like me. So I am trying to work on that, but hopefully I will be vlogging more because I actually have some plans for this room. We're in the guest room / my office. It's kind of like just a long room. But I am planning on redecorating this area. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I want to take you along for the ride. So expect content about that soon. But yeah, thank you guys again for joining me on this little journey. It's been super fun. And I'll do another update maybe at the 1 year mark or maybe a year and a half. I don't know, but I'll keep you updated. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments. I'm always happy to answer them. And yeah, I'll see you all in my next vlog. Bye.